XJ Talk Show.
It's on.
Now.
Oh, it's cold outside. Yes, in Houston, Texas, it actually was 20 degrees last night. And I think up in Conroe, it was 19. We're looking at some sleet and what do they call it? A wintry mix. It's a great day to have a Jeep. Or it could be, if it actually turns out as they're predicting it's going to. Tonight we have part one of a two-part interview with Rene Guignard, and he had to teach me how to pronounce both those words, both those names. Guignard is his username on xjtalk.com. Mine is Mutteroy. My first name is Tony. I'm one of the very few Tonys on the site. I think I was the only Tony in high school of about 1,000 students. And no, it's not Anthony. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with the standard model that we've been using, which is basically to have the interview for the first half of the show, and the second half we'll have Rene on the phone answering your questions, if you should have any. And we can always take comments or talk about something totally different. You'll be in the chat room. Rene and I will be on the air. The stream. I guess the stream. I don't think I'm centered in the camera. Well, I turned it up right when it was over. It's not very professional. This segment is brought to you by Ironman 4x4, the toughest, most adjustable control arms in the industry. Ironman 4x4 has a wide variety of rugged off-road suspension products that are overbuilt and underpriced. Visit Ironman4x4fab.com today. That's Ironman4x4fab.com. Wow, could I be any whiter in this picture? I mean, look at that. That's really bright. Oh well. Too late to mess with it now.
xjtalk.com.
xjtalk.com.
It's where you go when you're not off-road.
Since I've actually learned how to control myself and watch the time on these interviews that are recorded before the actual live show, so I guess it's semi-live if we're playing a recorded interview. It's kind of good that way. It's less stressful. Both the interviewee and I can interact with the chat room, and I just think it's more fun for everybody. Just looking here at the chat room, we've got several XJ Talk members, one XJ Talk vendor. Welcome everyone. We've got a couple of guests. You know who you are. One of these days, I'm going to read what this number of viewers means on my screen. It says number of viewers 7/25. I like the 25. Well, I like the 7, but the 25 is a bigger number, so I don't know exactly if that means that there's actually 25 people that have been here and left, or I don't know. It's just confusing. So as I was mentioning, it's very cold here in Houston. I think it is 30 degrees now. I think we had a high of around 34 today. And if you're not familiar with the Houston area, that's kind of unusual because the temperature, it may get cold at night. Very rarely is it in the 20s, but 28, 29, 30, 32, somewhere like that. But it'll usually warm up during the day to at least 40 something. And sometimes even go as high as in the 60s. So it's pretty comfortable in the wintertime as compared to some of the other places that I see and hear about around the country. So it's very unusual for us. It's even unusual for us to get any kind of frozen precipitation, and we're looking at that tomorrow. So I'm personally kind of interested in seeing what's going to happen, because I think it'll be fun. I don't want to do anything that might bend the Jeep, but at least I have one, so it'll be a little easier getting from point A to point B because of that. Do you have questions or comments that you would like played on the air? We've set up voicemail just for that purpose. All you have to do is call 530-675-4102. Just leave your name, your location, and your question or comment. Chances are good it'll get played on the air. That number again is 530-675-4102. We look forward to hearing from you today. Hey, how would you like to advertise on XJ Talk Show and reach a worldwide Jeep audience? Just send an email to advertise@xjtalk.com for more information. And here we go with part one of the Reeney interview. Hey guys, thanks for joining us tonight with XJ Talk Show. Tonight we have Rene Guignard from the xjtalk.com website. Rene, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Thank you.
A little cold, which wasn't this morning, or I guess it wasn't yesterday morning.
Yeah, that was a heck of a blast that we had come through here. Of course, the show is on Wednesday. We're recording this on Tuesday, and Tuesday morning here in the Houston area, we had a very substantial cold front come through. Quite a line of showers and wind. Gosh, I guess we were seeing 40, 50 mile an hour winds here in gusts.
Yeah, that's what they were saying on the news today. Is it was gust up to 40 miles an hour here.
And I actually took the girls down to the bus stop because it was still raining about 6:40 or so when they went to catch the bus. So it was loud enough to wake me up this morning. I guess you had been up for a while, because I think you're usually on the site by 5 or so a.m.
Yeah, I was. I had actually got up about 4 o'clock this morning is when it woke me up. But yeah, I kind of stayed up until 6, and it was still raining when I left to go to work this morning at about 7:15. So yeah, it was a heck of a blast. And for everybody who doesn't know, we're all in the Houston area, or me and Tony are, and we don't experience massive cold here. We generally never see. What we're going to see over the next 3 or 4 days, we don't get here in this part of Texas. I mean, they're talking temps down in the 20s, low 20s. I think in Conroe is going to be, we may even see some teens. That's not something we get in Southeast Texas.
No, that has to be a pretty strong front to be able to get us down that cold for any time frame. So we'll have 30s, upper 20s on occasion, but generally speaking, it about when the sun comes out and daytime heating, it warms up well above 30, maybe into the 40s. So, for example, today, I don't think we got above 35 or 38. If I remember looking at the little temp thing on my computer, it monitors the temp at my house. Right now it says 28. But anyway, that kind of dovetails into the next thing I was going to do is talk about what you do for a living. You get to work outside in this cold, don't you?
Yes, I do. But I only actually I'm actually in a big metal building, like a lot of the other guys. I'm actually a mechanic by trade. Graduated from UTI back in '89. I've went on to own my own auto repair shop. I've worked for multiple dealerships, multiple independent people. I've kind of pretty much done it all. I'm actually to the point where in my life and in my career where I decided that I just really didn't want to work on cars and trucks any longer. So I started working on electric vehicles, which is a little bit of a different job, but it's still something that's really interesting. And the greatest part of it is not everybody calls you every minute of the day going, I need to drive that home tonight. Nobody needs to drive their electric vehicle home.
And when you say electric vehicle, a golf cart comes to mind. Is it golf carts or just golf carts or more than that?
We actually sell everything from a golf cart up to a 14-pass bus. that actually gets used to transport people around parking lots and stuff. So we actually sell it all. Everything from, like I said, golf carts to street legal vehicles to lifted golf carts, off-road type buggies to big buses and utility carts, and we even have a catering electric vehicle. So, yeah, pretty much anything and everything that's electric I work on. So, yeah.
Have you looked at or have you considered taking a Jeep Cherokee and using the knowledge and perhaps the electric motors that you have available to convert one into an electric Jeep?
Yes and no. Yes, because it would be really neat. No, because the weight of the batteries that it takes to run these things is ridiculous. Even if you were to do that, you'd never be able to wheel it. I mean, you'd add a couple 1,000 pounds just in batteries.
Yeah, I actually wrote on my Tony McElroy blog about we need a better power supply, because if we had a smaller, more powerful battery or a power source, it would really enable us to do a lot of things that we can't do now currently. And I'm sure we'll get there. I just don't know. When I was a kid, I thought we would be there by now. I mean, it is the 21st century, and gosh, we're 11 years into it.
We're actually getting close, Tony, but we're not quite there yet. The new Nissan Leaf is actually using a lithium polymer battery of some shape, form, or fashion. They're not being real generous with the technology because they don't want it copied. I mean, blame them, but we're getting there. It's just when. Right.
Well, it's a price performance thing. I mean, I'm sure that the military or some scientist someplace has a nuclear reactor that's small, and they could slap Mr. Fusion on the side of it, and it would operate much like the mythical fusion device that powered the DeLorean on Back to the Future. But as far as it being safe and affordable, it might be. And besides that, it'd be a great terrorist tool.
So, oh yeah.
So I guess that would, in other words, the technology does exist for limitless power, but the problem is the danger and the cost. So we need something that, like what you're saying. I mean, the lithium batteries certainly were a big jump in technology. I mean, you can look at your smartphone that you're talking on. And of course, that has a lithium-ion battery. And the size and power of the thing are just incredible. I mean, a communication device that is that small, and of course they can make them even smaller, but at some point you have to, I think, draw the line as far as how small it's going to be, or you wind up losing it.
It's funny that you say that, because my son got a iPod for Christmas, one of the iPod Touches, one of the newest ones with the, 15 billion gigabytes of memory or whatever the heck it is now. And that thing is not a whole lot bigger than a credit card, and probably as thick as 4, maybe 5 credit cards. It's tiny. See, I'm like you. I would end up losing it or breaking it very quickly.
Yeah, breaking it, I could see that happening. And he probably will too. He'll probably stick it in his pocket or leave it in there and it'll get washed or something. And those things are so expensive.
Yeah, apparently you know my son.
Well, you know how kids are. So
yeah, I do, unfortunately.
So, are you from this area, or what part of the country are you from?
I was originally born up in Massachusetts, but I've lived here since 1974. So I'm, basically born and raised, not born, but raised right here in Conroe, Texas. I've lived here most of my life, graduated high school right here. Everybody I know is here.
Well, certainly, if you've been here longer than 20 years, you're considered a native Texan. I'm sorry, there's two things. You have to be here 20 years and not live in Dallas.
Yeah, I pretty much do both of them. I've been out of high school 25 now, I guess. 84.
Yeah, you recently celebrated a birthday, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Just turned 45.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. It's definitely feeling it a little bit.
Now, I know we've talked about this before, but I do not remember. I guess it's because of there's so many people on the site now, and I'm reading about so many different things that people have done. The Jeep Cherokee that you currently have, it's a 92, correct? 95? Okay. For some reason, I thought it was a 92. I actually gave you some information today that was for a 92, that water pump that you were talking about. But anyway, Is this your first Jeep Cherokee?
First Jeep of any kind, believe it or not. I've had four-wheel drive since I was 18 years old, of one shape, form, or another. Had Chevys, Ford, Dodges, a couple different Japanese brands. But this is my actual very first Jeep.
Well, you seem to like it a lot. I mean, you don't seem to be fearful of breaking it.
No, fearful of breaking it is something I'm definitely not.
Was that something that similar driving style on your other vehicles?
Oh, no, I was never as hard as I am on this one. I had a 1974 F100 Ford pickup, and it was an ex-Baja race truck. Full cage, just crazy amount of suspension travel, but it was raced back in, it was a 74 model, and I think from the paperwork I had, it was raced in, 76. So it was bought and built to race immediately. It's been, it was around ever since, and I bought it from a guy who was probably the fifth or sixth owner of it. It had never had anything changed on it. It was still in exactly the way they raced it for him. I was pretty hard on that one. I launched it off a couple of hills pretty good, but it was set up to do it, so it was, I didn't mind doing it.
Was that a two-wheel drive? Because I know a lot of times, especially those off-road racers, are set up for, the no axle or at least independent suspension if it's a four-wheel drive. Oh
no, it was a four-wheel drive. But it was, now mind you, it was a 74 and raced in 76.
Oh yeah.
They were just basically putting good, lift kits on them, shocking them a bunch and racing them back then.
Yeah, that's right. I did hear you say that, and I didn't think about that. That probably is a more recent thing. I really don't follow the off-road racing that much. I just know that I was a little surprised to see whenever they're doing the Baja stuff that those are really two-wheel drives, and I think they do it simply so they can get over all the little humps and bumps, whereas a straight axle would give them a hard time being able to go fast.
Yeah, I think that back then, I actually think that the two-wheel drives were actually faster than the four-wheel drives. I'm sure Steve would probably know a little bit more about that than I would from him being in California and all, but if I remember right, way back then, the two-wheel drives were the faster vehicle.
Right.
More wheel travel, more everything, lighter weight, same horsepower.
Yeah, I think it's that independent front suspension, so it allows one wheel to be on the ground and not be forced down by a bump. They both can float at whatever rate or speed they need to. That's
right.
You can do it with CV joints and so on and so forth, but it's just not very strong. It's not as strong as a straight axle setup. At least that's what I've been told. So anyway, you've had several four-wheel drives, but the Jeep Cherokee is about the only one that you really beat the hell out of. So you must have or at least established a good confidence level in it to be able to run it hard.
I most certainly did. I actually, when I bought it, you saw it when it was all original. I bought it bone stock, probably had never been in four-wheel drive its entire life. I gave more than what I should have gave for it, looking back now, but at that time I didn't know.
Right.
And everything that's been done to it, I've done myself. It's 3.5-inch lift, 33-inch TSLs on it. It's got a whole lot more to go in it, what I'm going to do to it, but I've just got to get to the point where it's not my daily driver.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, it is still my daily driver.
Well, it's nice to be able to, in the Houston area, when we have bad weather, and we do have it, it's nice to be in a vehicle that can get you from point A to point B, or at least have a real good chance at it.
Yeah, it is. And our idea of bad weather is a lot different than what everybody is experiencing right now with the winter. We don't get that. We get, 20 inches of rain over a 24-hour period.
Right.
So we just get lots of high water to drive through.
Yep. Yeah, having a little height makes a big difference, and the 2 feet between the ground and the bottom of my Jeep means a lot to me.
Sure makes you a lot more confident in driving through that deep puddle, doesn't it?
Yep. Standard pickup trucks sit as high. The passengers or drivers sit just as high as I do, but the bottom of that door isn't as high as mine. So if they start going through it, they're going to get some water. I don't know how bad it would be, but at least I'm going to be above it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And when I'm not above, I don't care if it gets in my floorboards anymore.
Have you put drain plugs in your floorboard now?
Oh, yeah, it's all my drain plugs have been removed. I ride around with them out all the time now. I don't even put them back in anymore.
Yeah, you do need to get that thing set up so that you can just make it an off-road trail rig.
When that happens, I'm cutting the top off. I'll end up being one of the Cherokees that are topless.
Well, I think that's about the only thing about the Cherokee that would be nice, would be able to have the ability that the Wranglers and the CJs do to remove that top, because that is pretty cool. I mean, it probably would get old pretty fast. I had a Z28 with T-tops, and I thought that was a real fun thing, but keeping up with those tops and taking them on and putting them off and putting them on, taking them off, and then worrying about people stealing them, because that was a big thing. They were pretty expensive items, and they were fairly easy to steal. And a lot of people would come out, and their T-tops would be gone.
Yeah, that would make you pretty much not happy.
No, I mean, that's it's a selectable open air thing, and without the T-tops, there's no longer a selection. And gosh, it seems like they were $500-700 to replace. So, wasn't something fun to be concerned about.
No, I'll give you that. I actually had a '68 Mustang that kind of the same boat. I mean, it wasn't a T-top car, but you still, I mean, locking up the '68 Mustang is really the most non-intelligent thing you could ever do. It takes a long time to get in one of them cars.
Yeah, I guess a lot of anything with class on it doesn't really take much to get into, but I would guess the Wranglers are in that same position with the soft tops. I guess you just don't put stuff in there that you want people to walk off with.
That's it. I mean, it's kind of like anything, though. No matter how secure your vehicle is, how long will it take to get in there with a hammer?
Yep, or even take it. And of course, that's a worry that I have, because I've had this Jeep Cherokee of mine since it was brand new, showroom floor, and I've done a lot of mods to it. And actually, every time I hear about somebody having their Jeep totaled, I think about where am I going to be if that happens? I mean, chances are good I'll be able to pull parts off of it, but it's not. It'll be gone. And actually, I was looking at that flood damaged XJ that's at Matt's shop, and I kept saying stuff to him like, man, but the body's clean and blah 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 blah. I just hate to see this thing trashed. And it's like, yeah, but saltwater, yeah, but it's out of year, yeah, but
it's true. And what's really bad about that car, or that Jeep, was it was under saltwater, and the floorboards are perfect. There's not a rust hole in that Jeep anywhere.
Yeah, it's just really sad, because that is a very clean Jeep. And gosh, I mean, I guess it wasn't running, and that's why somebody left it there and they didn't care. But boy, that would have been nice if somebody would have just called and said, hey, I got a Jeep, it's gonna get swamped with this hurricane coming in, you want it?
Believe it or not, I know the story behind that Jeep.
Oh, really?
What happened, that Jeep was actually bought, the guy that we got it from had actually bought it from a friend of his, and it was an off-road buggy only. That he never got it titled. He had the title, but he never got it inspected or registered. And when the hurricane was coming in, they loaded up. He has a pickup truck, and his wife had a car. They loaded everything in their house on a trailer that he had behind his truck, and there was just nowhere to put the Jeep. He had no choice but to leave it.
And it was running.
Oh yeah, it was running, driving at that point, but there was no way for him to get it out. He had to drive his truck with the trailer. She drove her car out. There was just no, and he said by the time they left, there was not enough time to get back. Because he actually said, he goes, when I got the trailer unloaded, I turned around and started coming back, and he couldn't get back to his house.
Well, I'm glad I asked about that, because that makes me feel a little better about it. It just seems strange that it was such a nice Jeep. I figured it must not have been running, and therefore it was just too difficult to get out of there. That's just a shame.
Yeah, it really is, because like you said, it's a really, really nice Jeep. I mean, I hate to see it cut up and be thrown away, but that's pretty much what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, it's understandable. It's all relative to how much work and money it takes. Like Matt said, $200 you can get a rollover and be a lot further along than what you'd be on that one.
You really can, because that Jeep is just so beat to death, or not beat to death, but the Jeep is so salt water to death that there's almost nothing salvageable.
Right. But that's the way it goes. At least there's going to be some stuff taken off of it, and it'll live on, so to speak. I've just developed a real love for the Jeep Cherokee. It just amazes me how well they go off-road, how well they go off-road stock, and with just a little bit of money investment in lift, tires, and wheels, it makes an amazing difference in the way they appear.
You know, it's funny you say that, Tony. I was talking to a couple of guys on the site last night on chat, and we were actually talking about that. And I said, you know, if y'all want to really embarrass some people with your little Cherokee that's stock, put some decent 30-inch tires on it, put a locker in the rear, and ditch your sway bars. You're going to make a whole lot of big Jeeps real jealous.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I mean, a locker would make a huge difference.
Well, I remember the very first time I met you, we were wheeling at Spring Creek. I was locked, no sway bars, in like 235 tires.
Yep.
And look at the places I was taking mine.
And your Jeep was full of family as well.
Yes, it was.
you were going up places. I remember there was I think it was a TJ that was in that one spot. It was a really tight trail, and it was a pretty good steep angle, and it was a turn. And he sat up there and tried it, and I don't know what eventually happened to him. I think he backed down out of there, and then you decided to go up there and try that. And you made it once or twice. I can't remember. I know you made it once.
I'm with you. I think I made it twice, but I tried the third time, and it just couldn't get up it. It got just too rutted out that I was actually a high center and going up it.
Right. And that was my first introduction to, I wanted to say selectable locker, an automatic locker, and I was just really surprised how loud that clicking noise was.
Well, that's the reason I took it out and welded it.
Yeah, Matt was backing your Jeep up the other day, and gosh, what was it? Oh, I thought the parking brake was set because the rear wheel was doing something really funny. It was jerking, and it was almost like it was trying to, like the emergency brake was on, and it was trying to stop and not go. And I said, emergency brake, and he looked down. He goes, no. And I thought to myself, oh, that's right. He's got Reeney's got that Dana 35 welded together, and that's what it's doing. Because Matt was kind of turning as he was backing up, so one wheel was trying to catch up with the other one.
And it's kind of funny because my Jeep is exactly what everybody says you can't do with them. You can't weld the Dana 35s; they'll break backing out of your driveway. I've got a welded Dana 35 with 33-inch TSLs, which are almost 34 inches tall, no sway bars, and drive it every day. My Jeep is living proof that everybody, that. Now, mind you, it has a huge, depending on how you drive. I'm hard on it, but I know when to let off. And also, we don't have any hard surface. We don't have rocks here. I mean, I wish we did, but we don't. Our idea of the hill's an overpass. I think in the mud and trail type situations, weld them up. If you break it, everybody says it's a throwaway rear end anyway. What do you care?
Right. Well, like I was telling you that day, Saturday when we were out there at Matt's shop, the problem that I have with it is the thought of having to repair it out on the trail. It's bad enough doing it in my garage. But you've got an 8 1/4 that you've got lined up to go in there now, don't you?
Yeah, I sure do. I actually have an 8 1/4 with limited slip diff. So yeah, that's my that would be my next upgrade.
And that is the higher spline count one?
I don't know. I haven't pulled an axle and looked yet.
Okay.
But the catch is, whatever it is, it's going to be stronger than the 35. And everybody says that the 27 spline isn't, but just a little stronger than the 35, but not as strong as the 29 spline. Look how long my supposedly not being able to back out of the driveway 35 has lasted.
Right. Well, actually, I think that what the way it goes is if you put a non-stock size tire on a Dana 35, it explodes on the spot.
Yeah. Well, I can prove that myth really wrong, can't I?
Well, also too, I think that the other urban myth or Dana 35 myth is that sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, and most of the time they don't. Of course, we've seen the the YouTube videos with the Wrangler in the hole, going in that little mud hole, and he's coming up the other side, and you hear that thing let loose. So, I don't know. Maybe it was a little too much skinny pedal the 10 times before, or I don't know what the magic is. But
I'm with you on that. We don't know how that Jeep was treated to begin with.
Yeah, and the younger and less experienced the driver, I'm sure also has something to do with it. I mean, if all you know is the bottom of the floor pan with the accelerator, there's no telling what you've stretched or what you've damaged, that it continues to work, but just it's waiting for the right moment. So I think it's pretty clear though that the Dana 35 isn't as strong an axle as some of the other Danas. But then again, it was engineered for a light vehicle and not engineered for a heavily modified vehicle. And even though it's fairly easy to put a lift on and put larger tires, that is a pretty extensive modification as far as torque to that axle and the rest of the vehicle.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. We all know that driving style has a lot to do with how long something lives. But I think that in moderation, I think you're probably fine running what I'm running. But then again, like I said, we don't have hard surfaces that we wheel on. We don't have rocks. We don't have stuff like that. With rocks and stuff, I can see where they just wouldn't live long. I mean, I'm already, even with what the wheeling I've done with mine, I've already noticed some really funny characteristics of what my Jeep's doing now that it wasn't doing before. If you actually jack the rear end up, I could take one wheel and turn it about an eighth of a turn before the other wheel starts turning. So I know I'm getting some slack in parts that shouldn't ever have slack with a welded diff.
Right. Well, that's going to happen. I mean, there's stress and things moving and so on and so forth. I think one of the, I can't remember exactly the way it is that Big Jim puts it, but there's something he talks about on one of the other sites about how you have to have it, Dana 60s and 35-inch tires before you can back it out of the driveway.
You forgot the worn winch.
The worn winch. and I think that's a habit a lot of us get into because it's a formula that we know. You need this, this, and this. And it's really easy to tell people whenever they're new and they say, hey, what do I need to do to my Jeep? And if you get right down to it, what they probably need to do to their Jeep is enjoy it. Not tow hooks, recovery points. And, if you can put a winch on there, then you can get yourself out of a lot of stuff. So that probably is the main things that anybody needs to focus on is recovery points and a winch. And the rest of it is just more augmentation of your ability to get up and over things with ease. And of course, it looks really cool.
Yeah, well, I'm 100% with you on that. I mean, one thing the Jeeps do not have at all, or at least our Cherokees, is a recovery point. We really, as far as recovery points, if you ain't got a hitch, you have no recovery points. I agree with you. Put recovery points on it. If you have a rear sway bar in a stock Cherokee, ditch the rear sway bar. There's no reason for that in the world. Put some sway bar disconnects on it if you don't feel confident about losing the front sway bar, and go wheel it. Go enjoy it. Use it for what it was meant for. Go get it dirty and then go park it in the grocery store or on the mall and let people look at you like you're because that's what they're meant to do.
This is Big Jim 350, and I love xjtalk.com.
Except when the server's having problems, right, Jim? And then it's not so much. Well, that's the end of part one of the interview with Reeney. We tried to trim it down to 30 minutes, and we did a pretty good job of taking the break. It's amazing what you can do when you actually pay attention to the time on the clock. So that means part two will be next Wednesday, barring any kind of virus, malware, freezing, precipitation. I got to quit saying that word. Snow, sleet, rolling blackouts, political unrest like they're having in Egypt. Anything can happen, I suppose. But anyway, if none of that happens, then next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, we'll have part 2 of the interview with Reeney, and we'll get a little more into things about his bumper, the various iterations that it went through, and how it became green. I saw that there was a question about that in the chat room. I like the green. I think that's it really stands out. Really makes it pop. It's like, look at me and get the out of the way. Pink would be good. I look forward to seeing that on your vehicle, Wayne. So let's get Reeney on the phone so we can ask questions.
Somebody's calling.
Somebody answer the phone.
It's an XJ Talk live phone call. Hey, Reeney, you there?
I'm here. Yeah, Wayne, you definitely got to paint your bumpers pink. Pink and green go great together, man.
That's true. It really does. That's kind of a Barbie color combination, isn't it?
Oh, he drives a Jeep. Barbie has a Jeep. Why not paint them pink, right?
Oh, but it's not a Cherokee though. It's got to be a Wrangler, because
oh, that's right.
Chicks
with square headlights. I think hers had square headlights.
Chicks dig the Wranglers. Nothing wrong with that. Wranglers are nice. It's just not.
I guess Wayne's not going to comment on that, huh?
I guess not. Well, he's a very, very long ways away. It may take a long time for those bits to actually get here. And also, too, there's probably a bit of a delay between when we're saying it and when he's hearing it.
Oh, true. Pink. That means you're supporting. I like that one.
Okay, guys. Well, Rene Guignard from xjtalk.com, also one of our moderators, is live and in color on the phone and willing and able to answer your questions and fend off your comments. So you guys got any questions? I think there you go.
No, I am not a smoker.
So no to the Detours question, is Rene a smoker?
I'm 45 years old and have never smoked in my entire life. So I'm not a quitter. I never started. Nope, no dipper either. No tobacco of any shape, form, or fashion.
Does your son use any tobacco products? Not the young one, but the older one.
Yeah, the older one does, but it's funny because my mom and dad both did, but I never did it. So yeah, I always had better things to spend my money on.
Oh God, it is very expensive. My dad was a smoker from age 16 till 5 years before his death from lung cancer. So I never wanted to do it and never did. Lizard Runner says smoking. That usually means you need a ring job, doesn't it?
Ring job, doesn't it? Yeah.
If you can talk her into a ring job, what the hell?
Yeah, I think she's trying to talk me into a ring job. What do you mean?
So
yeah, the cough going on, Mark. What that is called allergies. Everybody in Texas has allergies,
except me.
None of it bothers you, Tony?
The only way I was somewhat aware of it, my wife gets the allergies really bad twice a year, and I kind of noticed that I have a little tickle in my throat when it's really, really bad. And that's but before, if it hadn't been for her, I would have noticed it.
It's called cold weather. Yeah, that's something we're not used to.
Boy, it is really cold. I've got the ceiling fan on simply because I think I'm used to having some airflow on me, but I did have to turn it down a bit. And my feet are cold. I've got socks on, so it is very cold. Let's see, what's it down to? It is now 30 degrees in Katy, which is about 20 miles west of Houston, Texas. Downtown bright lights.
Yeah, I'm about 45 miles north of Houston, and they're talking here we may never see above freezing tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we may actually, that's why they say if it snows, we're getting snow, and we're also going to have sticking snow.
I want to see 4-foot snow drifts. The most snow I've ever seen is 5 inches.
I don't know.
No, Outlaw. The Outlaw XJ asked Tony, are the majority of members in or around the Houston area? No, they're not. The Houston members are really relatively recent. The majority of the members were all, scattered across the United States, and international members. Wayne, for example, Cantab 27, He's in New Zealand. We have a member that recently subscribed to, as a paid subscriber to our site, is in Mongolia. So it's a worldwide membership, and we actually started doing some local meet and greets in the Houston area, and I think that got a few people from the Houston area together and on the site. And it's not a club, it's not a local thing. Yeah. It's very much a national, worldwide site for anybody that has a Jeep Cherokee or just wants to be a part of it. You don't have to have a Jeep to join.
Right, and something I think part of why everybody thinks it's kind of more of a Houston-based thing is because a lot of us Houston area people are very involved in the site.
Yes.
That's one of these. It's kind of one of the things where a lot of us, Big Jim, me, who the heck's the other one? Big Jim, me.
There's Patrick. Was it PCR Jeep?
PCR Jeep.
MS Morenberg. Matt?
Yeah, Matt. There's a whole lot of us that are local that are on there a lot, and we're a lot of the ones doing a lot of the chatting on there. So I think that's why everybody really thinks that we're more of a Houston-based site, and we're not. It's not ever meant to be that. It's just we happen to be the most talkative of the bunch on there, I guess, besides Wayne, and then he's the furthest away. And by the way, for all of y'all on here, if you want to know the lotto numbers, just ask Wayne. He's tomorrow.
That's right. Wayne is in the future. He's sworn an oath not to tell you if you're going to die, though, so don't worry about that. Yeah, and don't forget about Scott, XJ4IV.
Yeah, we'll leave that one alone.
if you don't mention Scott, he's going to be upset.
Oh, yeah. Poor Scott.
Of course, he doesn't make it to the show. Well, speaking of...
By the way, everybody who's listening, Scott was up in Waco, Texas, and he froze his Jeep so bad the water pump wouldn't turn the other day. So, yeah, it was pretty cold up there. He said it was 10 degrees with no wind chill.
But hasn't he been meaning to change that water pump since before the long arms?
Oh, yeah, but he hasn't done it yet.
Golly, I don't think I could drive that far on something that I knew was marginal.
Yeah, me neither.
I guess that's part of the adventure.
What's going on there, Kurt? You need to put your feed back up. How much snow you get? See if you heard me. By the way, I think most of y'all already know, but Weldman is Kurt.
Right. 18 inches of snow. My goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, Mark commented quite a while back in the chat room about, you poor babies, about having to deal with the the cold, because he's originally from was it Connecticut, Mark, I think, and now he's in KY. So when I talk to him, he complains about the weather in Kentucky, but it's really not the cold; it's the storms, the severe storms. I don't think he's used to that, and of course we're more used to that in the Houston area. Just not the cold.
Yeah, you know what I really found out? Is it takes me about 3 months before I'm a little sick of the 100-degree days, the 90-plus degree days. About 3 months' time, I'm thinking, I wouldn't mind a little bit of cool weather. But it takes me about 10 seconds to go, you know what? This can go back up north. This sucks.
I can't handle the hot weather. I really don't like it. I especially don't like the electric bills. So I'm a much happier person when it's cold. When it's cold like this, I can sleep under the covers. I don't ever sleep under the covers, but when it's cold like this, I can, and I like that.
Yeah, man, I just turn the AC down further. My poor girlfriend freezes her butt off in the summertime. I've got it like you could hang meat in the bedroom.
Oh, God, I bet you she does. What is she, all of 95 pounds?
Yeah, about 95 pounds. She likes to say she's 100, but not quite.
Yep. I bet you she gets cold quite easy.
Yes, she does. She just come in from work and she's like a little popsicle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're snow should be traveled to, not come to you, Reeney. I agree 100%.
Big Jim 350 says, "See, all I just heard was KY. He wasn't paying attention before."
I think he said it's cutting out on him.
Well, that can happen, but you can always catch the show in its uncut entirety from the podcast, which is available on iTunes now, which is really cool. And it's really cool that it's free. And also, too, on from the XJ Talk website, which we were talking in the chat room. This will be old news, I'm sure, by the time some people hear the podcast. But we switched over from the old underpowered server to the new, more powerful server, and we've been having some issues because anytime you make a major change like that, it doesn't quite go as what you would expect it to. So having some growing pains, but it'll get stabilized out here pretty quick.
Yeah, when you were saying all that, the new and improved server that doesn't work.
No,
it's from the old server that did work, by the way.
It actually works great. It has to do with how long the changes take to get pushed out to all the different internet service providers and the DNS equipment that's out there that each individual uses. So it takes a while for it all to get all pushed out.
Hey, Punisher, where do you live at? I mean, I know you live in Florida, but what part of Florida? If it's 78 degrees, where the hell do you live at?
That's surprising. I thought that front was all the way up the East Coast.
I thought it was all the way down to, like, Miami, Port Charlotte. Where is that at?
It's in Florida.
Yeah, I know it's in Florida. what major city's that by, Punisher? A real good time, Tony. Southwest. So there's a city named Southwest? Where the hell is that?
Southwest Florida, I think is what he's saying.
So down kind of exact opposite, 2 hours south of Tampa. Okay, I know where Tampa is. Thank you.
Can you see the shuttle when it launches?
Yeah. Can you see the shuttle? No, doesn't the shuttle launch from the east side?
He says He says
From the west side, I guess.
Now, is it the actual shuttle, or is it something you see when you drink?
Yeah, Gulf side. So it does launch from the Gulf side.
Yeah, East Coast.
Cape Canaveral, yeah.
It goes east and downrange, so in case something happens, it falls in the water.
Yeah. So, Punisher, you're about, halfway down the state, or 3/4 of the way down the state? I don't know if he's going to answer me.
Yeah, he'll answer eventually.
You're what? If you, look at the state, are you, 3/4 of the way down there, or are you, straight across from Miami? Whereabouts are you, as far as 2 hours? Because I don't know how long it takes to get from one end of Florida to the other. Yeah, he could boat over to Houston. He really could, or at least Galveston. I don't know. I don't think you can get to Houston from the Gulf. But
well, you just use a boat.
Do I know where Fort Myers is? Yes, I do. I used to live in Miami, Punisher. So yeah, I know Florida a little bit. 30 minutes north of it. Okay. Yeah, I lived in Miami for 2 years before I moved to Florida. Before I moved to Texas. And we went swimming on Christmas Day and New Year's Day when we lived in Miami. Yeah, bad move, especially today. Oh, wait, check it out. Tony is officially found Florida.
No, let's see. He was saying Southwest, right?
Oh, there's
okay, there's west.
Houston, you might hit an iceberg.
I bet you we can find Punisher's house because this is Google Maps.
Sarasota.
Oh,
there's Sarasota.
Okay.
So you're right by Sarasota?
I lost it. Oh, there it goes. I lost it again.
That's all we need is Paul's house pick. Port Charlotte.
Oh, did you see it?
He said he saw Port Charlotte. Are you right on the coast, Punisher, or are you off the coast a little bit?
If he's right there.
Port Charlotte. You just passed it. Right there where you see the 75, scroll back down, Tony. A little bit. Down. Keep going down. Nope, the other down. Not up, down, Tony. Down. To the right a little bit. There it is. See Port Charlotte? Just past it. There you go.
Oh, okay. That's what it is, because there's a bit of a delay, because I've actually been sitting still here for the last couple of seconds.
Yeah. So you live in Port Charlotte, right? Hello.
Oh, we need to get some pictures. That's going to be a really pretty place.
Charlotte Harbor. Oh, if you put your address up on there, we could probably tune into your house there, Punisher.
yeah, that's exactly what he wants. So when this is up on YouTube and everything else, people will be able to find it.
Well, he's single. He wouldn't mind people coming looking, would you? No comment. I love it.
There we go. All right. Well, anyway, that's where Punisher lives. So that was a good 5 minutes of the show.
Oh, you just put it up there. Actually, put it in there. 2147 Shiloh Street. Shiloh, I guess.
Huh, it didn't copy it. All right, so
Let's see.
2147 Shiloh, and that was, where was it? Port.
I think you said Charlotte Park, didn't you? Yeah, right on it. That's because we're all talking. We all stopped talking, Mark. That's you right there.
Oh, look.
Punisher?
See, I recognize the driveway. You remember the red driveway?
Oh, sure is. There's a red driveway.
It's taking a little bit to update.
That's funny. He's getting his brooms ready. How come there's no Jeep in the driveway?
That driveway in red. I think I'm looking at the wrong one. No, that's the right one. It just looks different.
Yellow house. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Why ain't there a Jeep in the driveway?
That's the bad thing about Google. You never know when they're coming by.
Oh, I know.
Now, he may have just been moving in. Although that's a plumber. Okay.
That's pretty funny.
You know, this looks like a great place for UFO sightings. Look at the woods. He can go off-road. He can do like Wayne does. He can just, in this case, he can just go across the street and be off-road.
It's funny. He said that's an old picture. And same thing, if I've zoomed in around my house, and the picture's got to be at least 3 years old. So, yeah, I'm in the same boat he is. Some of these pictures are really old.
Can you imagine how much money Google spent for nothing other than just fuel?
Yeah, no joke. Did you see what Kurt put on there? That's creepy, you stalker.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
Hey, we know where Tony does with our addies.
Yeah, I did that with Wayne. My goodness, the Christchurch, New Zealand Christchurch, New Zealand is just beautiful. I was looking at some of the architecture and the layout of the streets, and that is this really beautiful country. It was very flat where he was, but I think within probably an hour or less from his house, you could be in the mountains. It was, I could tell from the street views there that it was quite nice. It's a shame they're going through so many earthquakes and aftershocks.
Oh, I know. And it's really funny because, you know, where Wayne is, the first time I ever was looking at Wayne's profile, I saw he lived in Christchurch. I thought, well, he's got to be a preacher or something.
Well, that would be a town full of preachers. But I know in different parts of the world, different cultures. But the more we learn about the other folks, the more it just seems that we're all the same. Certainly the same as far as our love for the Jeep Cherokees.
My wife's a minister.
I found I didn't know this until last Saturday that Wayne wasn't the one that changed his avatar to a submarine.
No, that was Matt.
Yeah, Matt told me. He says that could be arranged. He told him it could be arranged, and it showed up.
Hey, Wayne, can you guess who maybe had the idea of doing that? I don't think Wayne's still on here. I think Wayne's off. Well,
it said it was chopping, and he kept getting kicked off. But he'll be talking to the computer later when whenever he's listening to the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Oh, did Fireman Ray show up?
Yep, sure he's on here too.
Let's see. How do I put this thing back? Problem with doing something new.
Yeah, Matt did mine too, thanks to Rene and Paul.
Well, there's a picture of your, at the time, new to you, Jeep Cherokee.
I could possibly be one of the very first pictures ever taken of the Jeep.
Yeah, I was digging around on the site tonight trying to find some pictures so I could put up here on the during the interview, and quite a few of the pictures that you put up now are not available via PhotoBucket. You've moved them or deleted them.
Wow, see, it shouldn't be. I should still, every picture that I've had up, I've redone to make sure they were still in there. So do you have any of it with the TSLs on there?
I took some myself on Saturday, but I don't think that I don't know. Those are ATs. No, those are the ATs. So no, I don't have any with the the tires that you have on there now.
That's too bad, because that's some really good pictures of a Jeep when it's all the way it looks now. It's really a huge difference between that and what I've got now.
Well, we've got a week, because the second half of the interview will be next week, and we'll be able to get those pictures either from PhotoBucket or reposted or something, and we can have them for next week's show. So let me
sorry about that, guys.
Let me throw in a couple of things here before we wrap this up. Did you know that xjtalk.com is on Facebook? Just go to facebook.com/xjtalk and friend us. We're also on Twitter, twitter.com/xjtalk. Are you interested in being a guest on XJ Talk? Well, you can contact me via email, tony@xjtalk.com. That's tony@xjtalk.com. Hey, how would you like to advertise on XJ Talk Show and reach a worldwide Jeep audience? Just send an email to advertise@xjtalk.com for more information.
xjtalk.com.
xjtalk.com.
It's where you go when you're not off-road.
Well, Rainey, I want to thank you very much for not only doing the interview, but being here on the phone with us. And hopefully next week, you'll be able to join us again. And all of you guys should know that if you want to be on the show, love to find out who you are, your story, and share it with the XJ Talk members and whoever is listening to the show. So if you, you don't have to be a vendor. You don't have to be somebody with 100 years of Jeeping experience. Just got to be you and tell your story. Reeney does a great job with that. I was surprised that Scott XJ4IV was such a great interview, and that was just kind of an off-the-wall, let's test the equipment type of show. So, Reeney, was there anything that you wanted to say before we wrap this thing up?
Pretty much nothing much. I mean, y'all have a good night, and I guess we will talk to y'all next week as well.
Excellent. So, I'm looking forward, I don't know about you, Rainey, but I'm looking forward to see what the weather's going to do, because if we're going to get the bad weather, the sleet and the snow and so on and so forth, it's supposed to be around noon tomorrow.
Hey, Tony, I'm having a hard time hearing you over the music.
I was just going to say, what do you think the likelihood of us getting the bad weather is going to be?
I hope it's 100% likelihood. Matter of fact, next week when we're on, I'm looking at my build thread, and there's some really good pictures of some of the stuff we were talking about next week, which we'll be talking about building some bumpers and stuff like that. And I got some really good pictures in here of all that. We should probably pull them up, and if we get the snow like we're supposed to, I'll make sure I get some pictures of my Jeep in the snow, and I'll get them posted up as well, and let y'all show all of y'all who are used to seeing that what our idea of snow is, which it's nothing compared to what y'all's idea of it is.
Mark says, stay off the road, Tony. Mark, not only am I going to be on the road, I'll have the smartphone set up so that I'm videotaping while I'm driving around, and I'll have that up on the site. The site you can't get to. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. I really am.
But most of the time, whenever they're calling for someone like this, it doesn't pan out. Occasionally, on the tropical waves, hurricanes, and stuff like that, it will be as bad or worse than what they're predicting. But very seldom do we actually get the freezing rain, snow, sleet. More often than not, if it's a hard freeze with water associated, it's sleet and ice. A lot of buildup of ice on things. Hardly ever snow. So it's a big deal if we get the snow. So again, guys, thank you very much for joining us. I think we may start the show about 30 or 45 minutes late. We're still going to say it starts at 8, but everybody shows up about 30 or 45 minutes after the show starts. You know who you are. Anyway, thank you very much for joining. And don't forget, you can listen to these things on iTunes. So if you miss it, you don't have to.